Okay, now it's time for the vegetable soup portion of our show. We need a good name for our vegetable soup, so let's call it the Viciously Vegan Soup of Spicy Doom and Destruction. I think that'll work. As you see, we have vegetable stock here. This is 2 quarts of vegetable stock. You can, of course, make your own stock. It takes several hours. I prefer to just purchase it. And here we have, again, 6 ounces of tomato paste. I'm also going to, like with the shrimp soup, put in some stock bouillon cubes. This is vegetable bouillon cubes. There's 6 in this package. I'm going to actually use this 6 plus 2 more, so a total of 8 cubes like we did with the shrimp soup. So I'm going to get this all in the pot and I'll pick up from there. Okay, all that stuff's in the pot. Now it's time to add the garlic. Now you do need to add some garlic to this because it's based off the shrimp soup recipe, and garlic goes a long way to making that recipe what it is. I'm going to add some garlic powder. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. We're also going to add some minced garlic. Now how much minced garlic you add is going to depend on how much you like garlic. You can add anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 4 if you really like garlic, but I wouldn't suggest it. I'm going to add the equivalent of 3 cloves of garlic to this. According to my jar, 1/2 teaspoon equals 1 clove of garlic. Now be sure to read the jar that you get if you don't mince it yourself, because they do vary. So here we have 3 half teaspoons, so that's 1/2 tablespoon of minced garlic. And now it's time to spice things up a little bit. We're going to add some black pepper. It should be about 1 teaspoon. Kind of eyeballed that, but it should be about 1 teaspoon. We're also going to add celery seed, about 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then we're going to add red pepper to your flavor, whatever you think is hot. I'm going to suggest about 1/4 teaspoon. If you like spicy stuff, add more, maybe up to a full teaspoon. If you don't like spicy stuff, maybe limit it to 1/8. It's really up to you, but I'm going to suggest 1/4 teaspoon. You need a nice big pot like this one, maybe 6 quarts. Once you've got the broth and the tomato paste and all the spices added, bring it to a boil and then reduce it to where it's just bubbling. I'm going to do that right now. You don't want to boil this the whole time, just reduce it to a slight bubble while you're preparing your vegetables. I'm going to add all of the vegetables to this plastic container so that I can dump them all into the soup at the same time. I'm going to start off with 3 large carrots and about 1/4 pound of green beans. Now you're going to cut these into bits that are small enough to fit on the spoon and not so big that they edge everything else out. On the carrots, cut till about you get to the halfway point, then cut what's left in half and then continue to cut. Green beans, cut them into lengths that are about the same size as the bits of carrot. Here we have the green bean and carrot mix. Now again, you're going to want to cut the carrots so that they're fairly thick. You don't want them to reduce to total mush, but small enough to fit on the spoon and not edge everything out. Cut the green beans to a similar size. Now we're going to add some mushrooms. This is 4 ounces of mushrooms. On the mushrooms, what I suggest, if they're this size, is cut them in half. Cut them in half again. You want them to be similar, maybe a little larger than the pieces of carrot and green bean, because they're going to shrink when you cook them. We're also going to add 3 pieces of celery. On these, I'm going to cut them down the center and then cut them into small chunks. These are going to reduce to very, very soft texture in the soup, as well as our onion, which we're going to add 1/4 of a large onion. What in the world? Is that broccoli? Yes, that's right. We're going to add broccoli to our soup, but we're only going to add the very tips. You notice I have 1 stalk here and I've cut all the tips off, and by tips, I mean the very tips. If you look in here real close, you can see that even on this tip, you have all these little branches that come off of it. And that's what we're going to put in the soup. We're going to pull all those off. It's kind of hard to do holding the camera with one hand. But once we add all those to the soup mix, then we'll either chunk the rest of the stalk, or we can put it with the big one and boil that up later. So again, we're going to add the broccoli, we're going to add the very, very tips, and what's going to happen is this is going to reduce to a very soft texture, and it should add a nice aesthetic and some good flavor. Okay, our veggies are ready to add to the mix now. We're also going to add in some oil and some sunflower kernels. These are dry roasted Planters sunflower kernels. I'm going to add 1/4 cup. And I'm also going to add a total of 1/2 cup of oil. It's really up to you what kind of oil you want to add, as long as it totals 1/2 cup. I'm going to add 1/4 cup roasted walnut oil, and since it's an atheist theme, I'm going to defile some virgin here and add 1/4 cup extra virgin olive oil. Okay, everything is added. Now we're going to reduce the heat to low. We're going to cook it for 1/2 hour, stirring occasionally. Be sure and check on it because you don't want this to boil. You can have a slow boil, but don't let it come to a rolling boil for extended periods of time. So again, cook it for 1/2 hour, check on it periodically, and then we'll add the final ingredient. Alright, it's been a half an hour, so now it's time to add the final ingredient. Before I did that though, I wanted to show you, this is what I mean by a low boil. See how it's just kind of bubbling? Okay. Now, we're going to add one more godless ingredient. We're going to imbibe some alcohol. That's right, Oliver Winery soft red wine. Now this is a sweet red wine. You're welcome to add Merlot if you like, whatever you want. I'm going to add 1 cup of wine. I do suggest that you stick with something that's red, whether it's a Cabernet or Merlot or whatever. Now that the alcohol is added, we're going to cook this for another 15 to 30 minutes, covered on low, stirring occasionally. You're going to know it's done when the vegetables get nice and soft. Do not overcook it, because if you overcook it, what's going to happen is all the vegetables are going to get so mushy that they've transferred all their taste into the broth. While that makes the broth taste really good, it means that the vegetables all lose their character. So when you bite into a carrot, it'll just taste like a piece of mush that tastes like the broth. And same with a green bean. You want these to still taste like their individual vegetables. So again, let the vegetables be your guide. Cook it for 15 to 30 minutes, covered on low, and then you're ready to eat. Oh, and don't forget, I said imbibe alcohol. Yes, I drank the whole bottle. It's good stuff. This should make taste testing rather interesting. And here we have a bowl of the finished, viciously vegan soup of spicy doom and destruction. Now, this soup is delicious. Absolutely delicious. And as you can see, every single spoonful has a ton of stuff in it. Nice, tasty stuff. The broccoli worked out well. It looks sort of like a garnish, but it adds a lot of good flavor to it. And the only thing I would change is I might add a little bit more garlic. The reason I say that is this vegetable soup is based off the shrimp soup, which has a ton of garlic in it, and I wanted to emulate that soup. But the reason I held off the garlic was I wanted a carrot to taste like a carrot. I wanted a green bean to taste like a green bean. And I thought too much garlic would overpower the vegetables. I think I made the right decision, but maybe just a tad more garlic. So give the soup a try. It's really easy to make. Until then, this is Pat Farabee saying take care and have a good day.